welcome back to the next Mega Draft, round 2. We continue to follow Dirk as he won round 1 in Spectacular Faction, going down to top decking or, 0 cards in deck, but in his favor. Round 2, he's facing off against another Abzan, Martin. In Dirk's hand, we've got a green-white land, plains, 2 islands, Drowner, Alanya, and Bottomless Pool, notably no red. What's Martin working with?
Yeah, Martin just mulled against his first hand, and now he has mana acceleration going on. He has Overgrown Zealots, 2 mana Dark, 2 Pothole Moles, Morning Surprise to get something bad, and then a removal spell, Unfortunate Accident. So he's keeping this hand, he's putting one of the moles back. Alright, so we've had a hell of a first match, over an hour.
We are going long with this Mega Draft.
I don't want to jinx it, I think you might have a hell of a second match as well. Both of these decks are about going long. And the draw for Sprague and Martin are not the least cards, you know. He drew a Runescar Demon and then a Colossal Rattleworm.
Oh my gosh.
Cards there.
I like the play from Dirk. Hold on the Drowner. Tap down the Mana Dork. He's drawn a Gear Drake that's not playable and then an Unable to Scream. And he's debating if he's going to use these and decided, nope, we're just going to bury it with Drowner. Said, you started down on cards and it worked well last time messing with the Mana Dork. We're going to do it again.
Yeah. And great play from him in this case, because Martin was really counting on the Mana Dork to get him to his Pothole Mole, to get him to his 4 land, and now the whole thing is broken. But luckily for him, he tops the Swarm, then he gets to play his Pothole Mole. Yeah, and he has the Bruiser engine going on that might reanimate something at some point. If I were Martin, I might try and save it for the Runescar Demon. He has in hand 7. Although he also has the Morning Surprise, so he might be able to get something back twice. He's really setting up for the value game here.
That is a lot of value. Dirk has drawn a Rubble Belt Braggart. Again, no red. He has the Bottomless Pool to bounce. Didn't really want to bounce the mole. And same with the Unable to Scream. So it says we'll just keep waiting.
Yeah, and Martin is debating on whether to surveil or whether he found the port bell. He decides to keep it, which I like. It both opens up his flags for Rakdos, and it gets him 1 land closer to his top end, including the Runescar Demon. He could play it this turn and start something up, or alternatively he could play his Colossal Rattleworm, which might be tempting, but is has to be brave for it into open mana. Gets away with it.
Alright, and there's the red mana. Dirk says, Gear Drake, Unable to Scream, no questions asked.
Look at the Rattleworm art. Well, it does look like a creature that's all about screaming, so it must be very hard for him.
Yeah, he has a mouth and he wants to scream.
Martin gets a Crew Class haze from the top. Which I imagine is quite good in this matchup. It's looking to get cast immediately, and then imagine that depending on what he finds, he might play the Fountain Bell or Bell after to get left.
Ooh, interesting. He's not gonna find anything that crazy. Fortunately for Dirk, there's no Ezrim sitting in hand right now.
All of these cards are relevant, for sure.
Certainly.
Lazy Alanya, which makes sense. He has 2 pretty good instants Our sorceries in defense, with sorceries on live. And as I predicted, going to get a mountain with Founder Propel, open up the Rectal's splash. Should he draw it or want to source it up with a Woundscar Demon?
Interesting. I'm trying to remember what the red was for in his deck.
It's for Rakdos.
Oh, Rakdos? Yeah, no. A very good call. Dirk says we'll deal with the problems as they come. I'm gonna start getting my value in. And he has drawn the Aganosaurus Rex.
Oh, that's very cool. But then I heard Sylvan Scavenging from Martin. Both are getting thrown around in this game.
Ooh.
He's may have to keep it on top. I personally wouldn't be. I would have snapped caps, but he is thinking through. What do I want to do this turn? Decides to keep the scavenging, and is probably looking to either play the Alania or to take out the Gear Drake immediately. And opts to cast his Alania, or actually to cast Dirk's Alania. Ooh, some light jabbing from Dirk here. Oh!
Well, how the turns have tabled. Unfortunately, Martin not seeing the trick on board and Dirk having saved this card. Not just bouncing the first thing that came on the field, looking quite good for him, and of course actually managed to get a second green to just get the Rex on the field and say, can you do anything about it?
Yeah, well, as it turns out, Martin can do something about it. And have the Rex get an unfortunate accident. It happens on the race field, you know. And I imagine he is both going to cast that and kill Fate. Although there's also an argument for trying to get Colossal Rattleworm in the graveyard with 2 perfect spells, but Runescar Demon will even better recursion target later, so I could see him waiting for that. Yeah. And even in this non-aggro matchup, the OA is relevant.
Absolutely. I think this is a very interesting sort of mid-range matchup we have going on, of a lot of value to be had on both sides. And would you believe Dirk has just drawn Season of Gathering? He mentioned wishing he hadn't submitted the build with both the green and the white double splash as his first round deck that he has to stick with. But the deck seems to have said, well, watch this.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And now Martin is going to cast the Rootguard Demon this turn, so he'll get to search something up. I will assume Directos. But that's still going to have to deal with 2 seasons next turn. Really, the only thing that's missing for Dirk right now is a Riku.
Agreed. As far as dealing with a Runescar Demon, he has typed in the chat, oh, this will be good. I'm assuming, I don't remember exactly what Season of Gathering does, but I'm guessing it's about to be fun. He could also just Scorching Dragonfire and copy it. He also has Repulse available.
Well, he also, if he copies it, he can just give plus 10, +1/+1 counters to
And it
All
looks
right.
like that's his game plan. He says, I'm gonna clear the board, I'm gonna draw cards, and then I'm gonna combo off.
Wow, great. And this is like not like the all the interactions between the different sets that we're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
This is Magic 2022-2024 greatest hits.
Now we get to watch Dirk select a creature 10 times. It's very fun to watch him hit the one pot option that many times. Um, and he said, good luck.
That's really good.
It's very fun when these multicolor decks get to do the thing and show you interactions you wouldn't get to see otherwise between sets and between colors. That was uh,
Yeah, and
insane
even
and
though
very fun.
yeah, Martin had so many good cards.
Mm-hmm.
His name, the scavenging, the metal. But honestly, maybe the most important play of the game
Mm-hmm.
was taking away the mana dork turn two. That was like put Martin like turns behind in acceleration, and he did not have the ability to look up to what Dirk is doing.
I couldn't agree more. I think it was one of the most heads up plays we've seen truly all day of I see your green red, I think or sorry, green black, and I think you're going to need ramp. You played a mana dork on two, and I'm just going to stop that. You had to mulligan, and it worked well for him last time, messing with the mana dork, and it worked beautifully this time, just buying him some turns. Martin missed that third land drop, and so Dirk was just always up on tempo.
For sure. Well, in sideboarding, Martin is looking to bring in binding negotiations
Mm.
to attack the hands. Look at bringing in picture poison.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the hand attack against a multicolor deck like this.
Mm-hmm.
If they do have the right color, you can just like map the one card that they can cast right now. But if they don't, then well, that's fine. Also takes out the Black Surveyor from Age Drift.
Um, Also, I think probably the second most important play would be that getting to bounce Dirk getting to bounce his own creature back.
For
Um,
sure.
that was definitely an interaction that is not come up before. I would think between those two
Uh,
sets.
no, really, no, I would imagine not. But did Dirk stick with his four color build for this matchup?
No, Dirk did the same thing as he did in round one for game two of taking out the green splash completely, just keeping the white splash and getting more consistent with his mana. And this is an interesting hand. We've got plains, islands, two mountains, take the fall, our tried and true 0/8 and demonic ruckus.
Gotcha. And for Martin, he has two lands. He has a Pillage Bog, but might be finding more lands. A Dire Side, Pothilm Mold, a Dire Side Kartos Spell. He has the Rattle Worm again, and he is looking to put a comeback Varan, a murder variant, to the bottom. Um, so we'll probably be casting Pillage the Bog onto, I would assume. He did draw a Sylvan Scavenging, so if he can get a forest and a creature, then he'll be quite happy with that, I imagine. That's the forest.
I think pillage will help. What did he snag?
He snagged a forest and
Okay,
he drew the Sylvan Scavenging, so that
perfect.
will be good for him.
Dirk's gotten a shock and his bottomless pit again. So certainly doing the thing on his side.
Yeah. Now Martin deciding between the wild roads and the forest. Right now he is thinking, well, probably I'm going to cast my Scavenging next turn, so maybe the wild roads is fine, but if I get the forest, then I have the option to play Rattle Worm, and also decides to go with the forest, leaving no flexibility there.
Makes sense. Dirk drew a refute, once again having the issue of not having double blue for it quite yet.
Yeah.
But is holding up shock here.
I'll
Oh,
go blue might get 5. And the next turn, I imagine Martin will be casting the Sylvan Scavenging, start making the 3/3s. Um, Gonna be tough for Dirk to get back from that without a board wipe.
yes, he could always draw Fell the Mighty. And without the scavenging, I think he would still feel okay with his 0-8 versus the 6-5. He has the bounce in hand, and I'm sure he's very sad he didn't have the refute that turn. But he is going to be very sad to see the scavenging.
For sure, because now Martin can go both tall and wide and get around his wall. So I imagine Dirk will need to find something, and he will need to find something. Well, before the scavenging gets totally out of hand.
Great, he drew his crocodile for turn. I think Martin does not know about Dirk's one
No?
disguised creature, so he'll be a bit.
Might have seen the first round when
It's
it was
true,
there.
it did go quite long. We do already have 2 of the other games finished, it looks like, so actually he might have a good idea and know that it's not anything he should be worried about.
Yeah. So Martin drew a pick your poison, which he might use now to make Dirk sacrifice the rune sealed wall. But he's going to lead on dire side. It looks like, which I quite liked. Try to get some more lands in there. He has 4 black spells and only 1 swamp, so we really like a second swamp in there. Would really like that creatures. And there's a swamp, and there's also Glide Dive duo on top. I'd be very tempted if I were Martin to keep both on top.
I think that's fair. I think he's already up very clearly. He just needs to keep it going.
Yeah, and that's what Martin did. Um, Looks like he's going to attack first, attack all, and I imagine we'll either play a creature or a creature poison. Yeah? He has a choice of 3 black 3 drops. He has a red stool, a Layering Onlooker, the 1/3 flying that can exile from the graveyard, and then the Vampire Gormand.
Dirk's wall's looking not quite as good here. And unfortunately, I don't know how many sideboard options he has for enchantments.
Yeah, that's one thing that's pretty hard for a control deck like this. Like really, you need to counter the scavenging or make sure it never gets off the ground. Because uh, once the value engine gets going, then all the card advantage in the world can make up for it.
Couldn't agree more. And I think he could still try and dig towards Fell the Mighty to try and get back. But
For sure,
it's a
that's
long
out right
road.
now.
And he kept a strict lookout on top.
So I think that points towards like really going towards Mighty. Like that's also
Mm-hmm.
why
Yeah.
this attack makes sense.
I think
But he
he's
will need.
full digging at this point. And to
Yeah.
be fair, he did just find an Unable to Scream, which will
Right.
not permanently solve the issue, because then you can just scavenging up one of these 3/3s to a 4/4, but it will at least buy him time.
Yeah, that will stop the bleeding for sure. Um, so right now, Martin's thinking about what to do. He has the picker poison. He could use that in combination with either the life size duo to drain for 3, or play 2 drops, the red stool and Laren Onlooker. Decides to attack first. Interestingly, pick your poison could be used on the artifact mode for Windsealed Wall, or on a later term could also be used for the enchantment mode. Although if I were Martin, I might wait to see if I can find if there's a big flying thing that I need to take care of.
Okay, Dirk sees an explosive derailment on top. It's not really what he needs here. It's certainly tempting. He did decide to keep. I do think it helps him be mana efficient this turn.
Yeah.
But is certainly not what he's looking for.
I'm not baiting a block here. But either way, whether Dirk uses derailment or not, I might kill the Ratchville with derailment. Or you could trade here and then draw with the demonic rocket. And if you have land, then you can also enable to scream the red award. Stand the building a little there.
So he's going to use the derailment to save his creature.
Right. You did not opt to spend 2 extra mana to kill the Ratchville. I imagine because he really wants to cast the enable to scream. It makes total sense to me.
Yep, I think that's definitely the priority right now. Just buy himself more time.
Yeah. So a mountain for Martin, and then he can also cast a Glyphside duo, or he could exile the Leering Onlooker. If I were Martin, I would probably like maximize my mana, use maximize my damage, cast the Glyphside duo. One interesting choice for him is whether to attack with the Ratchstall. He can he could attack with 4 things and get probably 3 more damage in, or he could leave back the Ratchstall and surveil 2, I believe, to get more things going for next turn.
Think it's maybe just surveil 1, but I agree. I think it probably doesn't move the needle here, but getting in damage never looks bad, of course, especially when the blockers are not. Killing your blockers, just stopping damage.
And you're right when you were saying earlier that this game, the walls don't trade, so the scavenging keeps on growing, so the walls look a lot worse. Right, mountain coming down, the life size to I imagine the pick your poison is still not going to get cast. Waiting for a flying creature. Oh, interest. I guess he doesn't have a flying creature.
Right.
Alright, rocks up the Glide Type Duo, which is putting all his eggs in one basket a little bit, but I think it makes sense.
I think it's fair enough.
I wouldn't have done that if I were.
That definitely was a choice but now Dirk's gonna go to 1.
Well, poison is coming up here, so.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, that's gonna end the game. We will be headed over to game 3.
Heading over to game 3. Alright, so interestingly, I noticed that Dirk was working the Germany sleeves a little bit earlier, and Martin is from Denmark. I believe for either country, it might be their first appearance in a Mega Drive finals.
Ooh.
And definitely could be for either country the first league win. So there's something on the line here.
With this many non-NA players in this draft, it definitely was a high possibility, and it would be very fun to see. Dirk electing not to really change anything. Martin, what is he thinking of?
He is thinking of bringing in Sporogenic Affection. So that's just one card that says when it's an aura for 2 mana that makes the creature It says okay. It says when this our enters, target player sacrifice a creature of their choice other than enchanted creature, and when enchanted creature is dealt damage, destroy it. So you might cast it on your creature or your opponent's creature. So
Mm, yes.
that's something interesting going on there. Looks like all the other matches have finished, and it looks like we're going to see Nick Alphas in the finals in a bit.
Very, very interesting. Makes sense this would be our last game, but we're already in game 3. I'm not too worried. And will be very interesting to see which of these players ends up in that final. I think it's going to be a good one. Do we know what Alphos's deck was? I can try and pull up the draft logs.
Check it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the Teamer deck that we saw with the Chandra. A ton of powerful cards, but we were a little bit worried about the mana issues there. So if he goes against Dirk, that's definitely might feel like a little bit of a mirror match.
That would be hilarious, frankly. Especially because Dirk noted going in that red blue was not something on his radar at all. He went to pull up the chat just now, assumedly thinking to message his opponent again after a long sideboard, but here we go.
Alright, so I imagine Martin will be on, or Nick will be on the play this game.
Certainly. Dirk's got a red blue duel, plains, mountain, take the fall, our trusty 08, Strix Lookout, and Living Conundrum. It's a Dirk hand if I've ever seen one.
Wow. For Martin, he has a bunch of creatures really. He has 4 lands, including his Flash Source. He has the Volkflut's Faithful, which can reanimate something. And then there's Deathless Pilot, Flash Brewer, and Pot Mole. Like, none of them really exciting cards, and neither is the Daemon Display that you just draw. But I imagine Martin is thinking, well, it's probably going to be a long game. I don't mind setting up for that.
Certainly something. I don't think either of these players super mind. Dirk considering tapping to draw a card here, draw and discard. While also holding Take the Fall, did not play his 08 in favor of drawing and discarding.
Well, a great draw from Martin here. He drew the Omnivorous Fly Trap, so that's definitely a bomb if I've seen one. I think he is thinking about like, oh, maybe I don't cast it now because it might get into a counter, but well, now he knows the coast is clear, so we could see it coming down this turn. So whenever it enters and attacks, it distributes 2+1/+1 counters, and then if you have Delirium, it also doubles 6. But he decides, I'll try and see if I can get Delirium first, right? Get a sorcery and enchantment in my graveyard. Slow roll the Fly Trap a bit.
I think that's fair. I think he knows Dirk has a lot of interaction, that the Fly Trap can get disrupted pretty easily. Sort of wants to feel him out if he can. Dirk has now drawn a Take Out the Trash, a Rune Sealed Wall, and that Fell the Mighty we were looking for in game 2.
Oh, yeah. That would, I bet that will make Dirk feel very safe. And should the Omnivorous Fly Trap come down, then I imagine the Fell the Mighty will follow the turn after.
If so, I'll be very interested if Dirk targets the 0-8 or the 1-2, allowing Martin to keep his 1-1 or not, to keep
Well,
his value piece.
if the 1-1 can bring back the fly trap, I imagine he will opt to go for the 0-8. Um, Alright, so casting dire side, surveilling away the mana dork and keeping the crew class haze on the top, looks like. I might be thinking of attacking Dirk's hand next turn. Alright. Looks like Dirk is attacking with the Strix Lookout. What else does he have going on? Is he thinking about
Just, yeah, just gonna loot. He's still only got the Living Conundrum and Fell the Mighty in hand. I imagine he's pretty partial to both of these. So decides just, we're gonna keep stalling the board. Get his walls out there.
A very relevant card for Martin as well. He drew his Rakdos. So Dirk doesn't know it, but he has he is facing two bombs from the opposite side of the battlefield, and the Feldmighty is gonna be gone.
That is sad to see. Oh! What if Dirk discards it?
I'm like, I could see it.
Not that it super helps him, but a consideration he's having right now.
Yeah. But Dirk doesn't know it, but like with the way Martin's hand looks right now, he is not looking not looking like the he's going to want to cast a board wipe anytime soon.
Right. So I personally like leaving it as an option that Martin isn't really gonna want to do himself.
He threw Alania away, which I think might be a card that he would be afraid of.
Yeah, but it was also the one he drew off the Strix Lookout, so I think he sort of instinctually went to draw and discard, thinking he would get rid of Fell the Mighty if he drew a land or something, but then drew one of his best bombs that he then instead had to get rid of, unfortunately.
Yeah. Alright, so yeah, Fell the Mighty gets taken. And well, if I were Martin right now, I would go for the Omnivorous Fly Trap. You know the coast is clear. Start getting her in.
Yeah.
He also has the option to go for Momentum Breaker, making Dirk sacrifice something, or he could ramp with Damon this way.
Dirk typed on the screen, that spell can't kill walls, which is a very fair assessment.
Well, yeah, that's very true, but I'm afraid for Dirk that he's going to find out quite soon that the walls can't kill an omnivorous fly trap and won't be able to stop it from attacking every turn. And that furthermore,
oof,
they can't stop Rakdos either.
they sure can't. That Fell the Mighty really would have helped out. It is a bit unfortunate for Dirk. Martin's deck just has a couple of really value cards like the Fly Trap and the Scavenging that can just get out of hand, and so he can't just sit back and wait as much as he could in round one, because Martin just gets too much value.
And here, Rakdos can also sacrifice things to basically be able to cast things from Dirk's library. So he's thinking about doing that with the Pothole Mall, decides against it. I think he's considering getting it again. But yeah, Dirk will need something quite fast, or the combination of Rakdos and the fly trap will get in the way. Yeah, the sides. Um, to go for itself gets the A-check, which
Ooh.
goes by. Might be considering casting that. Could
With
also still cast fly trap. He also drew an unfortunate accident, so um, really not much any good creature from Dirk could also be dealt with. So I would put my money on Martin here to take Denmark to their first ever Mega Draft finals.
yeah, it's a bit unfortunate with Dirk's Fell the Mighting sitting over there in Martin's Exile. I'm not 100% sure what he could draw at this point. Even Ezrim could only trade with Rakdos and still have a lot of other value problems. He did get a Flood Pits Drowner, which can bury Rakdos at least.
That's very relevant.
So he will be able to buy himself some time, but he is debating not doing it on his turn, but I feel like he needs to do it so that he can then loan shark and draw. But I guess he has to do it on Martin's turn to be able to do the berry effect on his turn.
Yeah.
Because it has to still have the stun counter on it,
Yeah.
and Drowner needs to be able to tap, so that's why you normally do it on your opponent's turn, if you actually want to bury it.
Alright, so here's a Deathless Pilot. I could see that getting sacrificed to Reckless at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Another option, a thing that Martin could do at some point is sacrifice the Archic to Rakdos and then get it back with Vogelfrost's Faithful, get a bunch more 1-1s. Oh, interesting. Dirk decides not to use the Drowner.
So Dirk's going to be able to bury Rakdos, but I'm not sure what he's going to do about the rest of the board. We have found Ezrim on top. Dirk will not be able to play Ezrim and do the Drowner ability next turn, though, I don't believe.
I don't think so. This is also a little awkward because then I believe he does not get the mana for. He does not have the option to cast something and then cast Loan Shark after either.
Right.
So looks like he's going to leave on Loan Shark and possibly attack with Drowner. I imagine Martin will block this and then they'll get shuffled in.
Mm-hmm. And that's all he can do for the turn, but understandable. We'll see if Dirk can live through another turn to get Ezrim onto the board.
and there's also a Sylvan scavenging from
Oh,
Heart.
brutal.
Um, yeah, and then there's the Under the Skin too, so it's it's looking harder and harder for Dirk to break out of this by the minute.
Just brutal because in game 2 we at least had the hope of digging to fell the mighty.
Yeah, now it's just like taunting Dirk over there, like, hey, you know the one card that's oh, and then there's Fly Trap, which will double the counters immediately. Probably going on the insects. I think this might be lethal this turn.
Yeah, Dirk sees it too. So I think that will be a wrap on round 2. Looks like we'll be following Martin into the finals, and perhaps.
Yeah, it looks like it's not quite lethal this turn, but I don't think there's any hope for Dirk to Dirk out of this.
He's found a repulse on top and left it. I don't think it's going to do a ton. He's hovering over Ezrim. He can give it lifelink to be at 6.
Sure.
Which
But I mean, Martin can just cast Fell the Mighty, so
also true.
will
that
probably,
that will feel very bad as the way to lose for Dirk.
Yeah, I imagine that it does not feel great. Really, like, had an amazing game 1 in this match, but game 2 and 3 got outvalued. So it looks like, oh, this is interesting. Oh.
Surely you should have done a 2.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Right. Fair enough.
Alright, well, great run from Dirk, who had a crazy deck that normally might not give credit to his mindless rights, but performed, did some amazing things, scratched out a nail biter against Nick A, and went down heroically in the semifinals.
Couldn't agree more. And from here we will follow Martin into the finals. Be back in just a minute.